Let's go behind the scenes to see how I built this waterborne conversion from top to bottom. I've done a lot of these, but to make it a more official series, let's build SurfSkates. This one's called Blucid Dreams. Just a warning beforehand, the video is sped up in parts to quicken the process and not take too much of your time. However, this may cause the frame rate to look a little weird with lower quality playback. If it does, tap the settings option above and up the quality till it's good. Now let's get started, setting up the surf adapter. The new version of the surf adapter with the fin system is so easy to set up. You just slap the trucks on and tighten the nuts down, that's it. The added placement sticker makes this a breeze and makes installing smooth for just anyone to do with ease. You can install virtually any truck, like reverse kingpins, traditional kingpins. I've even installed some pretty weird trucks and they had no problem. Then you just remove the sticker. Nice, your surf adapter is set up. This board has been converted before with custom cut bond grip tape, orangutan wheels, and waterborne adapters. It was never picked up for purchase, and B, the original artist who painted it was ecstatic to get it back. I'm rebuilding with all new gear, restored grip, and will precision tune in person with RipTide gear to her specs. Before we get into the rail adapter, I'll show you how the fin system works and how to install it. If we leave the fin out of this equation, it leaves it in standard mode. You could leave the surf adapter as is, skip to the next step, and just shred it in standard mode. If you are installing the fin, just remove the nut and lift it slightly to separate the top from the bottom plate of the surf adapter. Warning, there's some grease for lubrication. Then lightly push out the bearings in the top section of the surf adapter. Now some get intimidated by this step, but it's really super simple. From the top to bottom, you have the really thick washer. We'll set that off to the side. Then you have the washer, bearing, and washer, if that makes sense. Like Patrick says, think of a bearing sandwich. I like to leave them literally how they come out, just off to the side, so that way I remember. Now installing the fin really is super simple. Just align the arrow for whichever mode you want, either Mega Pump mode or Super Carve mode. This way for Mega Pump, this way for Super Carve. For B, we're going to leave it in Mega Pump mode. Knowing her specs and riding style, I believe this will be the best fit for her. Now the second part of the fin, you just line up the notch in the top section of the fin system. It's really simple, it only goes one or either way depending on which mode you chose. That little notch right there, it just goes into where there's sort of like a hole for it to fit in, if that makes any sense. It only goes one or the other way depending on which way you put it. Now let's get those bearings back in. Just remember, from the top to the bottom, the super thick washer, then regular washer, bearing, and washer, like a bearing sandwich. Also remember, and this goes with literally everything in life, do not over tighten it. I'll make other videos on this, but for a quick recap, Mega Pump mode sits at 155 degrees, which means higher ride height, but also means clearance for bigger wheels, mega efficient pumping, but less dive and turn radius, whereas Super Carve mode sits at 145 degrees, lower ride height, fun at the park with traditional kingpin, super deep dives and carves turning on a dime like it's nothing, but less efficient pumping. Now for assembling the rail adapter, the threaded holes make everything so much easier. Even if you have quick trucks, it makes it a breeze. I like to add a shock pad to dampen the vibrations. When grabbing the hardware, remember all the red bags is for the rail adapter. As you can see, the lower half of the bolts are already treated, but I like to treat the whole bolt personally. So this is the Permatex screw glue treatment. That's what you need. You can find it anywhere, even Harbor Freight. And I just like to treat the top half of that too, basically. By all means, this step is not necessary. I just like ensuring all my bolts are solid and secure. It's really cheap, but it provides quality peace of mind. If you treated them too, let them sit and dry for a while. If not, just go ahead and install them and get your wheels on. We'll go ahead and get to that next step here. So while that dries, let's move to the next one. Get your bearings out and grease them if needed, but these are already pre-greased, so it's all good there. Now installing your bearings and wheels properly. Now I say properly because a lot of people, even professional so-called precision companies, don't do it the right way. Get a bearing tool. They're cheap but add precision installation compared to just using the axle. No matter what, point blank period, if you have spacers and axle washers, or also known as speed nuts, they should fit on your wheels and on your trucks, no matter what. No matter what the truck is, no matter what the wheels are, if it's precision and standard built, they should fit. I just like to point this out because a lot of companies like to use that as an excuse for poor quality. Now check for wheel slop, another thing that happens with poor quality companies sometimes. Anyway, push, pull, and wiggle your wheels while you tighten until no noise comes from them at all. Now don't over tighten them until they're stupid stiff, just wiggle them, get everything precision tightened, fine-tuned to the point where everything's silent, smooth, and efficient. Once all the wheels are installed and the bolts are dried, go ahead and finish installing the rail adapter. Again, with threaded holes, this part's super easy. There's no nuts needed, no reaching your finger in like a tight spot just to try to get the nuts on. No, none of that stuff. It's stupid easy. Anybody could do it. No, I'm just cleaning up and organizing here, so I'll try to like speed up through it. This is the rest of what comes in the box, except for the tool. I added that in for B, but the plain bags there are for the spare bolts. They're just spares. The clear bag is spare nuts. The red bags is rail adapter hardware, and the blue bags is surf adapter hardware. Just remember, blue surf, red rail. The bolts in the spare bags are of varying sizes depending on your setup, so keep that in mind because we're gonna have to use them. Installing the waterborne adapters is super simple, especially if the bolt holes on your board line up with the threaded holes on the surf and rail adapter. It's so easy, there's no nuts involved, it's amazing. Remember, the red bags is for rail, blue bags is for surf. However, and you'll see in just a moment, in this case, the red and blue bags are for basically if you can match it with the threaded holes. But on this board, the holes don't actually line up with the threaded holes on the rail adapter. So, I mean, again, using the threaded holes does make this a lot easier, but keep in mind, not all boards have the same bolt hole alignment, like that here. So you might have to use the regular mounting holes. If that's the case, you'll need some spare bolts from the plain bags. And remember, those come in varying sizes, so depending on like the thickness of your board or things like that, you can try with different ones to see what works best. To make mounting easier when you have to do it this way, which is kind of the way we're used to from the previous ones, you just remove the top plate of the rail adapter first, then install. It makes everything easier so you're not reaching in a tight spot trying to get the nut on. I am really so proud to have a part in this version of the rail adapter. The versions before had minor flaws and imperfections like noise and rattle sometimes. Thanks to your feedback and my experiments, we had a huge part in helping perfect the latest version of the rail adapter and having it become the best, most silent and precision version ever. Went with larger holes on the top plate of the rail adapter and those black insert bushings there to remove and eliminate any noise and rattle. Now just install the bottom plate and then install the top. Just line your bolts up with the standard mounting holes, similar to like the previous versions of the rail adapter that didn't have the threaded holes before. If you do have to mount them through the regular mounting holes, removing the top plate makes everything so much easier. You don't have to reach in there or use any special wrenches. You just tighten them in and done, and any skate tool works fine. As always, do not over tighten, and tighten the bolts at opposite corners or ends to make sure the bolts fit the concave of the board. Alright, now the bottom plate is installed, just install the top plate of the rail adapter. I like to tighten the nuts on the double kingpin of the rail adapter just to the point where the kingpins are just barely sticking out above the nuts themselves. And remember, always check for wheel bite. Just lay it flat, hold it down, and push on both of the wheels to make sure you're not touching the board at any point. And installing the surf adapter, the same thing applies. Some boards have bolt holes that don't line up with the threaded holes, unfortunately, so you'll have to install the usual way, which is really no problem. You could remove the top plate of the surf adapter to make that part easier, just like we did for the rail adapter. Similar to how we did when installing the fin system. Just use the spare bolts from the plain bags and the spare nuts from the clear bag, and do whatever you gotta do to make it easier in installing. I personally just leave the top of the surf adapter on just so there's not a whole mess of bearings roaming around. Tighten all the bolts with a wrench or a flat skate tool and you'll be finished. And that's it. That's how I built this SurfSkate from top to bottom. I like to call this one Blucid Dreams because of the kind of theme we got going on here. But I really love this board. The video quality doesn't really give it justice. Those wheels actually match the art on the board way better than it looks like on camera. But I've already sent footage to B and some pictures and stuff like that. She is super stoked and I'm really happy to get this back to her. I hope this video helped. If you have absolutely any questions on how to build one of these or any specific details, or even like if you're snagging on some kind of struggle that it's just not working out for you, let me know. I'll help. That's what I do. If you want one of these custom built just for you, just hit me up. And use discount code RADICAL if you're just trying to cop some waterborne gear. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Take care and tread safe.